Caitlyn on the floor. It's not just a dip, it's a full-on nosedive. A clear indicator of the kind of magnetism and star power Caitlyn brings to the sport, and how dramatically different things feel when she's not in the mix. And as if that weren't enough to illustrate her impact, there's also this. With the first pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Dallas Wings select Paige Bueckers, University of Connecticut. In the 2025 WNBA draft, Paige Bueckers, as expected, went first overall. It was another event that drew plenty of buzz and anticipation. Now, to be fair, the ratings were pretty solid with roughly 25 million viewers tuning in. But here's the kicker. ESPN, the exact same network that's now hyping up Caitlyn's preseason game, was noticeably quiet about comparing this year's draft numbers to the previous record-setting year. Why? Well, maybe because Caitlyn Clark's draft in 2024 absolutely smashed every record on the books. Last year's draft was an unprecedented ratings bonanza. And let's just say ESPN conveniently didn't want to remind viewers that Paige's big night was only the second most watched WNBA draft, right behind Caitlyn's 2025 second most viewed WNBA draft of all time with an average of 25 million viewers with a peak of 46 million viewers, up 119% versus 2023. And I know what the question may be. 2023-2020. Well, Ben, just out of curiosity, because we're all curious around here, right? We all want to be well-informed. What is it compared to the 2024 dread? Well, thank you guys for asking. I appreciate that. Here we go. It's down 49%. It's honestly wild. Networks are practically falling over themselves to broadcast Caitlyn Clark's games, and team owners are bending backward to move matchups into larger venues just to cash in on her star power. Yet somehow we still see these petty little moves and subtle jabs aimed at downplaying her enormous impact. And sadly, this pettiness isn't isolated. Lately, there's been a strange wave of articles and TV segments seemingly determined to diminish Caitlyn's influence on the game, often hinting at deeper, more controversial reasons. For instance, take the recent piece from The Guardian. They ran an article essentially questioning whether Caitlyn's popularity was genuinely earned, or if it was more about her being a white player from Iowa, suggesting racial biases might be fueling the hype. Fans instantly reacted, calling it a misguided and unnecessary attempt to drag race into a scenario clearly defined by extraordinary talent and record-breaking viewership. And it wasn't just The Guardian. ESPN's own Monica McNutt jumped into the controversy too, going on the BBC and insinuating that Caitlyn's unprecedented fame and success were significantly boosted by her race and Midwestern background. But she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. And then we had the recent USA Today article where the author basically scolded Caitlyn Clark's fans, telling them they need to learn their lesson. According to the piece, fans apparently aren't allowed to hype up Caitlyn at the expense of other players. And everyone needs to be recognized because, yeah, the NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL run around making statements about how important their bench warmers are to the success of the game. But here's the thing. There's nothing wrong about selling out arenas, breaking decades-old ratings records, and single-handedly driving unprecedented interest in women's basketball. Sure, every passionate fan base has a few people who go overboard. It's not like NBA Twitter is the cleanest place ever, but to insinuate a significant portion of Caitlyn's fan base is problematic, or claim they're building her up unfairly, that's a massive reach. And fans didn't hesitate to call that out. No matter how they spin it, there's nothing false about Caitlyn Clark becoming a genuine sports phenomenon. If ESPN videoed a Caitlyn Clark workout, it would have averaged more numbers, more viewership than rivals. It genuinely is. It's scary, this type of hype. I didn't think I thought it was gonna die. I literally thought it was going to die. Here's the bottom line. The numbers don't lie. Caitlyn Clark is absolute ratings gold. Her fans are single-handedly fueling this incredible surge of interest, driving the league's popularity and revenue to heights it's never come close to reaching before. Sure, there are a handful of overly passionate fans who might step over the line. Every sport has them on all sides. Spend 5 minutes scrolling on X and you'll see exactly what I mean. Trash talk and rivalry debates happen everywhere. It's just part of being a fan. But these sweeping attacks aimed specifically at Caitlyn's supporters. The people who are literally packing arenas, tuning into broadcasts in record numbers, and buying merchandise are totally misplaced. All that jealousy, negativity, and finger-pointing doesn't benefit anyone. In reality, Caitlyn's passionate fan base is a massive win for everyone connected to the WNBA, players, owners, sponsors, and fans alike. Rather than tearing them down, maybe it's time to acknowledge that these fans aren't just. So number 22 from Indiana, makes history quite a lot. Makes history an awful lot. And she's after making history again. Caitlin Clark just made history again. And this time, she didn't even have to step onto the court to do it. Yep. The haters might want to grab a tub of Ben & Jerry's and a box of tissues because the tears are definitely about to flow. The Indiana Fever are already locked in for a mind-blowing 41 out of 44 games on national TV or streaming. The most ever for a single WNBA team. And those suspiciously convenient scheduling conflicts, yeah, they're happening everywhere Caitlin plays, magically forcing opponents to upgrade to bigger arenas to handle sold-out crowds eager to watch Clark light it up. But if you needed more proof that Caitlin Clark is the straw stirring the entire league's drink, just wait till you hear what's coming next. Guys, I'm here to tell you this is the first time an exhibition game has been picked up ever in WNBA history, and we already know why they're picking up this game. This should come as no surprise to nobody why they decided to pick up this very game. And I'm here to tell you the first letter of this young lady name start with a C and the last letter of this lady last name end with a K. Caitlin Clark, baby. ESPN just dropped another Caitlin-sized bombshell. They're going to broadcast the Indiana Fever's preseason game nationally. We're talking about a preseason matchup that sold 15,000 tickets in mere minutes, now getting the primetime ESPN treatment. This is completely unprecedented. Preseason games barely get local coverage, let alone national airtime. But that's exactly what happens when Caitlin Clark is in the mix. First in the league in fast break points. Clark connects on a deep three. This is exactly what the WNBA has always dreamed of. Mainstream attention, packed arenas, and a massive national audience. And now, thanks almost entirely to Caitlin Clark's undeniable star power, they're finally getting their wish. But wait, it gets even crazier. This latest bombshell about ESPN airing a preseason game comes right on the heels of some other huge developments that absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's the star. The league might not publicly go Allen, but all the signs point to many in the WNBA orbit, including past haters embracing Caitlin this season. Of course, with all this buzz, there are still haters raging against the Caitlin cash machine. Seriously, you won't believe some of the wild stuff being thrown around out there. We're about to dive deep into all of that drama. But first, if you think at least 2 million people will tune into a WNBA preseason game, which honestly might be conservative, smash that like button. All right, let's unpack this bonkers situation. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have officially transcended just primetime dominance. They've become arguably the hottest ticket in all of North American sports. This isn't hyper-exaggeration. They're literally the new primetime obsession. First, let's break down exactly how we got here. With such star power on those teams, it's really no surprise they're top the list for the most games available for you to check out on a national scale. The Fever, they lead the league with 41 games here, followed by the Aces, 33, the champion Liberty at 32. That's right. The Fever landed a mind-blowing 41 out of 44 games on national television or major streaming platforms, whether it's ABC, ESPN, or CBS. Flip on almost any sports network this season, and you'll probably catch Caitlin Clark casually pulling up from way downtown. Wheeler Clark launches, hits a three. Indiana, at least in the fourth quarter, an 8-3 rebounding advantage. Clark pulls, fires, hits for three. The league has honestly never experienced this level of exposure for one player or one team. Not even close. Indiana isn't exactly a perennial contender or a huge media market, but none of that matters when you've got Caitlin Clark, the undisputed biggest draw in the game right now. After witnessing last year's eye-popping ratings spike every time Clark stepped onto the court, TV executives basically said, yeah, give us more Caitlin. Like immediately. Flashback to her rookie campaign in 2024, when the WNBA smashed its modern viewership records, racking up over 54 million total viewers across all broadcasts. And who was the main attraction in nearly every one of the highest-rated matchups? You guessed it, Caitlin Clark and the Fever. A regular season game featuring the Fever on ABC might nitpick or grumble out of jealousy, but what Caitlin has done is undeniably extraordinary for the WNBA. She's single-handedly creating a type of mainstream demand for women's basketball we've literally never witnessed before. The league is stepping into completely uncharted territory. all because one player has captured America's attention like never before. And just when you thought it couldn't possibly get more impressive, check this out. The Fever recently sold out 15,000 tickets for a preseason game in Iowa against the Brazilian national team in less than an hour. And now ESPN just upped the ante by announcing they'll broadcast that very same preseason matchup on national TV. That's right. A WNBA preseason game is going national for the first time ever. I previously suggested around 2 million viewers tuning in. Yeah, that might seem bold, but given the latest data from recent weeks, that prediction could actually be conservative. The Caitlin Clark effect is even more enormous than we realized. And believe it or not, there are people who are seriously unhappy about all this attention she's bringing in. It's an even. First, we had the NCAA Finals with Paige Beckers and UConn capturing the championship over South Carolina. And while people were certainly interested in Paige's comeback story and the big game atmosphere, a lot of eyes were also fixed on something else entirely: the ratings. This year marked the first NCAA tournament since Caitlin Clark left college and turned pro. Everyone wanted to see how much of the previous year's record-shattering numbers had actually been fueled by Clark's presence. The difference turned out to be absolutely jaw-dropping, far greater than most experts predicted. This year's championship game pulled in around 5 million viewers. That's an impressive number by most standards, sure, but compare it to the previous year when Caitlin Clark was front and center. That game drew an astounding 9 million viewers. We're talking a 10 million viewer drop-off in a single year without good for Caitlin. They're good for the entire league. Caitlin Clark in a Fever has more games than the New York Liberty, which is completely strange to me, bro. And it's just weird, dog. It's just weird to me that they would say this about Kayla Clark. Hell, because whoever they playing is going to get the views too. So like the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise. They don't rise to the level of Caitlin Clark games, but the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise. And people keep fighting over the context. And the way I've tried to put this is there is no with and without Caitlin Clark. It's not like it does this with Caitlin Clark. It does this without Caitlin Clark. It's all in conjunction with Caitlin Clark. I mean, it's common sense, right? That when a whole bunch of new people join, in large part because of Caitlin Clark, they then get interested in other things. They then start following other teams, and the platform then becomes bigger for new stars to rise. Now, let's be clear, it's definitely not everyone who's grumbling or throwing shade at Caitlin. In fact, several big-time WNBA legends have recently stepped up to show their support. These are veterans who truly understand the significance of this moment, and the doors Caitlin is opening for the future of women's basketball. Take Diana Taurasi, for instance. Not long ago, she went viral with that infamous sarcastic soundbite that seemed to doubt Caitlin's ability to immediately impact the league. But in a surprising and refreshing twist, she recently took a moment on air to essentially walk it back and offer an apology of sorts, publicly acknowledging Caitlin's undeniable star power and impact on the sport. Thank you and congrats. Now, unfortunately, reality is coming to me now. And Lisa Leslie, one of the greatest to ever lace them up, recently jumped in to set the record straight too. She didn't mince words either. Lisa basically told the haters and critics around the league to cut it out and stop complaining about all the attention Caitlin's getting. I think it's all about money marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlin Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not going to act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect called the Caitlin Clark effect. Yes. Have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So, if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? We've also got Cheryl Miller, another legend and one of the most respected voices in basketball history, echoing exactly the same message. Cheryl didn't hold back either, openly challenging the critics and urging them to recognize what's unfolding right in front of their eyes. Is she getting hyped? Yes, but she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were, right? And let's not overlook all the WNBA champions and veteran stars who actively chose to join the Fever this offseason, specifically because they wanted a chance to play alongside Caitlin Clark. They clearly see the writing on the wall, and they want to be part of this exciting new chapter. Take Sydney Coulson and Sophie Cunningham, for instance. Both have openly praised Caitlin, publicly highlighting just how transformative she's been for the entire league. She has changed our game in the best possible way in every way. Like to watch what Caitlin did for this franchise from afar. Different perspective. Yeah, no, it was nuts. There's no other way to say it. It was nuts. I think, you're seeing a team that's now affecting the economy in the city. You got people coming from out of town, out of state, out of the country, maybe even to see games. And so that's special. Everyone around the league senses how big this moment is. They know exactly who's stirring the drink, who's driving the bus, who's changing the entire conversation about women's basketball. I mean, have you seen that Dude Perfect teaser featuring Caitlin Clark? The Hinkle Heave. The Hinkle Heave. Here we go. The Dude Perfect teaser got millions of views practically overnight. Think about that. Caitlin Clark is about to be featured to over 60 million subscribers on one of the world's most popular sports channels. And let's be honest, this single appearance will probably do more to elevate the women's game than an entire year of paid promotions by leagues like Unrivaled. No matter how much some folks don't want to admit it, Caitlin isn't just impacting women's basketball, she's transforming the entire sports landscape. The latest news from ESPN about airing her preseason game nationally. That's just another chapter in the ongoing Caitlin Clark effect. I'm telling you, this season is about to get absolutely nuts. If you're a Caitlin Clark hater, you might want to find a comfy corner to curl up in, because this isn't going to be your year. The Fever have built a legit championship-level squad. They're dominating national TV schedules, and the momentum around Caitlin is off the charts. Buckle up, because this ride is going to be wild. Thanks for watching.